Hello, everyone. It's the worst hairstylist here, bringing you the worst podcast you know. Is this music dramatic enough? I don't know if it is, to be honest. Anyway, let's get it, I guess. Hey, guys. Welcome back to the podcast. We got me and Juice here. Juju on that beat. Juice is the definition of a chicken nugget. I'm all nice and cozied up. Today we're actually podcasting from my bed. I wanted to start off the year right, and I thought maybe I could give you guys some advice in this episode. 2023 was a lot of firsts for me. Okay, it was my first time ever being single, which I know sounds insane, but I literally have had a boyfriend since I've been like 14 years old, I feel like. Going into the dating scene at 23 years old in 2023 is insane. Love for Lexie was truly fucking blind in 2023. So I learned a lot about the relationship side of things. It was my first time ever living in a different state by myself for like the full year, and it was my first time ever living alone. And I feel like because of that, I have a lot of advice to give. So I asked you guys questions on Instagram. Or not, I didn't ask you guys questions. You guys asked me questions on Instagram, and I screenshotted ones that I knew that I could like get into. Maybe overshare a little bit and maybe get a little bit too deep that maybe you guys didn't want to get to know me on that level, but you're going to get to know me on that level anyway because I don't know how to stop. So okay, let's do it. This is a good one to start off with. How did you get comfortable with being alone and living alone? So for me personally, I don't mind being by myself. I don't mind being by myself, but I had never lived alone before. Like growing up, I lived in my parents' house, and then I moved into my boyfriend's mom's house with him. And then after that, my boyfriend and I at the time, like we bought our first house. And then I went backwards in life, I feel like. Like I literally feel like I went backwards because then I moved away and then I went into an apartment by myself. So I went from like living in like a house to living completely on my own, which I always imagined and I always pictured myself living in my own apartment. I don't know why. I almost always got like jealous seeing other people were in college and got to live in these apartments and stuff like that. So how did I get comfortable? Because it was a huge change for me because I had slept next to someone every night for like 6 years. When you think about it, that's like literally a big chunk of my life. When I first moved here, I think it was so exciting for me at the start that that was something that I kind of like quickly wasn't really like kind of thinking about it at the start because I had so many other things going on in my mind. I personally love being by myself. Going from living, especially with a significant other, in a house and then going and being off on my own for the first time ever, I really learned that like, and this might sound kind of bad, but I don't know if I can ever like live with someone again. I'm gonna have to like obviously live with someone someday, but not anytime soon because I've gotten so comfortable. And I feel really bad because a lot of my friends, even because Florida's really expensive to live. That's the only downfall about living on my own is like having to pay so much to live here. So I feel like it's really popular, especially down here, to have a roommate. And I feel bad, like some of my friends have asked me like if I want a room with them, and I've thought about it, and it's just gotten to the point where like I'm just like, no. I love coming home to my own space. I think it has to do with I talk all day at work and I'm always talking, I'm always doing stuff. I'm talking on social media, I'm doing all of this. So coming home and not have to talk to anyone is like just a dream. I love to not have to speak when I'm at my house by myself, except for my cats. I talk to them sometimes, but is that normal? I don't know. I feel like I don't care. When I think back to when I did live with someone, it was just more so like you always have that person like kind of telling you. In my case, I'm a little bit more of a messier person. So not having someone tell me like, why didn't you do the dishes today? Or why didn't you do the laundry today? I can do any of that shit whenever I want. Never let it get to like a bad point. You just get comfortable with it. And that's not for everyone. I feel like if you start to live alone, a lot of people can probably feel like they get lonely if they live alone. I've never really felt that. I'm very like, I like to hang out with myself and I like my own company. But if you are a person that like needs someone, which there's nothing wrong with that, then I do think maybe like a roommate's probably best. But yeah, oh my God, this one, even though it's embarrassing, situationships and dating in general. Situationships. When I tell you, when I first started dating, which was when I was 23, I didn't know what the fuck a situationship was until I got into one. So basically, if you guys don't know, if you live in your own bubble as I did before, like I, got out of that. Okay, so a situationship is basically like you're dating someone, but you don't put the label on it, and you guys are never going to date. Like it's just like you're gonna act like you're dating, but you're never gonna actually date. It's a really toxic cycle that kind of just like goes back and forth. And if you're in a situationship, I'm praying for you. I don't think I could ever do it again, to be honest with you. It just takes a toll on your mental state because one person always falls harder for the other. And then it just turns into like the other person's playing with someone else's emotions just because they want to keep you around. It's very like narcissistic, I feel like, to be honest with you. So if you're in a situationship, it's probably not ever going to go anywhere. And if it does go somewhere, it's probably not going to last, because I feel like if you actually are like wanting to date or want to get to know someone, and like actually, if he wanted to date you, he fucking would. At the end of the day is kind of what I'm getting at. We can cut the bullshit. A situationship is bullshit. So cut it out. We're leaving situationships in 2023. Honestly, 2024 is either for the girls or it's for men that actually know what they want in life. I don't think the situationship thing is even necessary at this point. I think like all girls, we need to like all pack together and like not even allow it to happen. Which I know would never happen, but like, can you imagine if like these guys just had no girls to even do that to? Like no one put up with it, and we were all just like if a guy like didn't know what he wanted, we were just like, okay, bye, on to the next, we'll find someone else. Like kind of pulled like a them on them type of situation. I don't think the boys would know how to react. Okay, so let me get into this now, I guess. So I was in my first situationship ever, right? So I was a relationship type of girl, okay? I know I've said this before, and it wasn't in a good way. It was more so I was kind of codependent on someone, and like I always felt like I needed to be talking to someone. I felt like I always like had to have that person. Shortly after my ex and I of 6 years broke up, right after I moved to Florida, I quickly kind of started talking to my first ever situationship that I've ever had in my life. Man, was it just a fucking, I think the universe sent me this person to teach me a lesson and to be like, hey, this is how dating is in 2023. You got to learn how to play the fucking game down here. Anyway, I started seeing this guy who was a couple years older than me. I thought seeing someone older, I was like, oh, like he's going to have his shit together. Like, yeah, it's not what that means, Lexie. You're a dumb bitch. Doesn't matter how old they are. To put a long story short, this guy did so many things to me in the 2 months that I was like seeing him. And I know situationships can last a lot longer, but I physically couldn't take it any longer because it was that bad. So like, I mean, and when I'm talking like he gave me like 20 red flags in 1 month, I'm not even saying just like, oh, like little minuscule, like red flags, like, oh, like it's over there in the corner. No, like this red flag was fucking waving right across in front of my face. Like I should have been out, but I was delusional, and I was right out of this like 6-year relationship. I didn't want anything serious. So I kind of was just like, you know, whatever. But I am the type of person, like I don't just kind of fuck around. Like I actually want to get to know someone, and I actually like do genuinely catch feelings, and I do care for someone very quickly. Like I have good intentions, and when I moved here, I was innocent. I had never been in this dating scene before, especially in South Florida, where the dating scene is so different from back in a small hometown. A small hometown, at least where I'm from, guys actually want to date you to get married, and they want to date you like to have kids and like have a family. Down here, it's just not a thing at this age. They don't want a commitment. It's a crazy difference down here. I think having that as my first experience with a guy down here, I think that was very helpful, to be honest with you, because I learned so much. So like I'm talking, this guy would like fucking cheat on me. I mean, anything that you could, he would lie to me. He lied to me about his age, which is just wild. I found out through a friend that he was like a year younger than what he told me. I'm like, why would you lie to me about your age? And I think he was like just actually like, I don't know if he was just actually stupid. And like, I mean that in the nicest way possible. Some of the things he did were so questionable that I did question like if he maybe had something wrong. And like, did it rub off onto me a little bit? I think so. Like, I think I became stupid out of this, because like I would just believe some of the shit he said. Like he would tell me like this lie, and I would just like, and I knew it was fake. Okay, so I'm not even gonna get like that far into it, but very back and forth. Like, you know how a situationship goes. You guys are fine, then you stop talking, and then you guys see each other out at the bar, and then you're like, oh, you know, and you start talking again. And that's kind of like how it was until it hit a point. I think we stopped talking on like the Super Bowl day. He did something that was just like, I wouldn't even have put a stranger in this position. And the fact that he put me like in this situation just literally flat out told me that he could not have cared less about me as a person, as a human being. I thought that like, you know, maybe he cared about me a little bit because, you know, we had been spending so much time together. We were spending like a lot of time together. And this point for me just like really wrapped it all up and like made sense in my mind that like, wow, like he truly, truly just does not care. He's kind of just in this just for this game. So after that day, thankfully it ended. Situationships, they can feel almost like embarrassing after you're out of it, because you're like, damn, like I really put myself through that. They're a good learning lesson, but I don't think that you should like continue to do it, and because it really fucks with your brain. So if you're in a situationship, I'm sorry to break it to you, I think that you should maybe just like try to get out of it. I feel like someone I went to cosmetology school with is now copying my social media to a T. I had this happen to me. I mean, you guys can probably imagine that I have it happen to me now, like with the videos that I do, the sarcastic ones and stuff like that. Like, obviously, like, I can't claim that, like, oh, that's mine or whatever, but you can so tell when, like, someone's, like, starts to copy something that you're doing, and it can be frustrating, but what do they say? Like, imitation is, like, the highest form of, like, flattery or something like that. You can take it as that way, and I think that that's, like, a little bit more of a healthier way to think about it rather than, like, getting upset with someone. It is annoying when someone copies you. You can just try to think of it as, like, maybe they don't realize that they just look up to you, really like the way that you do things, and just want to be like you. So they're trying to, like, mimic some of the things that you're doing. It looks annoying from the outside. I think the best thing that you can do is literally just try to ignore it. It is funny, though, because I have had that happen to me, and there's really nothing you can do to escape it other than just, like, keep doing your own thing. Change up some of the things you're doing, maybe, and then see if, like, they change it too. Then you'll know for sure if they're copying or if it's, like, actually just maybe they just like the way that you were doing things before. But, yeah. The next one, changing careers. Maybe based on if you have ever thought on stopping hair just to teach fully. I don't think I would ever, like, stop doing hair just to full-time teach. I am, like, this year, because I am doing, like, a class tour, which is a lot. So I am taking a little bit more of a step back from working behind the chair during the weeks, just because I am going to be gone on the weekends for traveling and everything. But I don't think I would ever just fully give up doing hair or, like, switch career. I think that if you're coming from, like, a different standpoint, so say I have a lot of people that message me and maybe they're going to, like, nursing school and they've always wanted to do hair or something like that. I think that's a different story where, like, if you're in, like, school for something and, like, you want to try to do hair, you could do one of two things in that situation. You could grind it out, finish the school that you're doing, and then go to hair school after the fact. That way you still have, like, that degree and, like, whatever you wanted to do before. And then if you go to hair school is only, like, a year and a half. So if you go and then if you don't like it, at least you have that to fall back on. Vice versa too. Like, if you're thinking about, like, going to college for something, but you always wanted to do hair, do the hair school, have that, you have it to fall back on in case you go to college and you end up not liking it. I don't know. I think that that's always a good way to think about that. Going on from that too, like, I would never stop doing hair behind the chair too, because I mean, I love having, like, my clients and getting to talk to them. It's a whole different life teaching and actually doing hair behind the chair, like, working, you know? So I like having, like, both. It kind of gives me, like, some type of balance. The next one, how to be confident. Have you ever heard, obviously you've probably heard, like, fake it till you make it. And some people are like, no, like, you should never do that, whatever. People are so attracted to confidence that, like, even if you're walking in a room and you're just kind of, like, slouched over, you're not really feeling your outfit or whatever. And, like, you know, you just don't feel yourself. Rather than when you walk into a room and you're wearing, like, an outfit that you feel so confident in and your hair's done or whatever, like, you just know that feeling when you feel different. Just, you know, that day, like, when you just feel different, you're walking in a room and you just feel like everyone's looking at you, which they probably aren't. But, like, you feel that, you know, and you're like, damn, like, I just, like, that feeling is so great. And, like, how to be confident is doing things that make you confident. Like I just said, wearing the outfit that you like, doing the things that you feel the most confident doing. When it comes to, like, posting on social media or doing hair or something like that, you can only be as confident as you possibly can be at that. But if you're showing that you are as confident as you can be, like, it still shows through. When I started posting videos and stuff on TikTok, like, I acted like I knew what I was doing, but I really didn't. In my videos now, you can see that I'm so much more comfortable and confident in it. But back then, it might have slightly looked like it, but you can tell now that wasn't fully the case. All I know is that confidence is key. And confidence is something that everyone needs to find in themselves because it really changes your everyday life. And if you can find the things that make you happy and find the things that make you confident. How to know when it's time to end a long-term 5-year relationship. Well, this happened to me. I was in that relationship for almost 6 years, and I feel like for me personally, the way that I knew it was, like, time to end it was it started to feel more like, not like a friendship, but that the romantic side of it wasn't really there as much anymore as it used to be. And I think that was the biggest telltale sign. And I started questioning, although in my heart, like, I really did feel like, you know, he was my person. I did have, like, those little questions where I was like, do you know, is there something else out there for me? That's when I started questioning if I should move to Florida and if I should do all this. Just really sad because I never thought that I would ever get to that point in the relationship. And it's really sad because you feel like you're hurting the other person when bringing these things up. But at the same time, I feel like my previous relationship was over way before it ended, which made ending it a little bit easier for the both of us, I think. And you'll know, if you're questioning if you should end your relationship, I think that you should probably end it. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, but I don't think that you would have any question in your mind if the person that you're with now is like the person you want to be with forever. Like, I think, especially if you're so young, that's the thing, man, is like so many young relationships, like, oh, like, we're gonna be together forever. Sorry to break it to you, but you're probably not gonna be with someone that you're probably not gonna be with your first boyfriend that you've ever dated forever. And if you are, then you're one of the lucky ones, and it's rare. The previous relationship that I was in was pretty much like my first everything. Like, so having not getting to experience anything else with anyone else, like, for the rest of my life, just was also like a thought. And I know that sounds like really like kind of shitty and like scary, but I feel like that's something everyone thinks about if you're in a relationship for that long and you've never had a love with anyone else. I think when I was in that relationship and like we started to lose like that romantic side of things, you know, I like even question if that was ever gonna be out there for me again. And let me tell you, it was. It's nice to know that there's more options out there. I feel bad because, I mean, it does sound harsh being like, oh, like, this person you were with for so long, like, you're just like moving on and like finding someone else, but like, that's life. And if you're having those feelings, I think for the both of you, it's just better to try and like go your separate way for a little bit. And if it's meant to be, it always will come back. So if it's meant to be, you guys will be back together. But if it's not, you'll know. Probably just try to, you know, head out the door. Should I have to ask my boyfriend of 1 year to be taking me out and doing the bare minimum? No. You shouldn't be having to ask a guy to do the bare minimum for you. Actually, a relationship that I've like really like followed online. If you guys know Katie Ritchie and her boyfriend, that is a relationship that I think is so important, and I'm so glad that she puts that out there because it literally shows you that there are good guys out there. I also had that long-term one that I was in. He was the type of person did so much for me because I did have such a good relationship. I've dated guys who don't do the bare minimum, and it's really hard for me to even like stay with them for longer than a couple months because I'm like, I'm not gonna put up with this because I've been treated good in the past, and I've seen online like these relationships too, like online, that like there are good people out there, and I know that like you're not worth making me feel like I'm not worth it. If anyone is ever making you question, like if someone's not doing the bare minimum, you're feeling like you're not worth it for them, or you're feeling like, because if they wanted to, they truly would. And I know that that's like such a cliche thing to say, but it really is the truth. And it shows at the beginning of the relationships. They act like that. They do the bare minimum. They take you on the dates. They do all these little things because they want to get you. But then once they get you, they stop doing these things. Those are the guys you want to look out for, and those are the guys that you want to stay away from. You know, they get comfortable. So leave them. Show them what the fuck they're missing then, because they can go out and they can go find someone else. And then you can find someone else that's actually going to take care of you. And guys truly don't know what they're missing by not really keeping their eye on the prize, which is you. By you staying and just like going in this back and forth and this fucking like little merry-go-round fucking, why did I just say like a little hillbilly merry-go-round? Merry-go-round, like little chase with them, allowing them to treat you like that. They think that they can. They think that they can do the bare minimum because you're letting them do the bare minimum. Don't let them. Go find someone that will do it. There's a lot of relationship ones on here, and I kind of fuck with it because for some reason, I feel like I'm very passionate about relationships. I feel like it's something that we all go through, and it's something we all can relate on. And I just love talking this shit about it. So my best friend got with my boyfriend after I broke up with him. Girly. Okay, same. My best friend got with my long-term boyfriend right after I broke up with him. She's dating him now. It's really fucking weird, and I won't let it go. This is one thing that I feel so much anger towards in my life. Typically the type of person like I can like give things up, or I can just like, you know, move on from things. Like this is one of those things where this girl is such, and I don't even feel bad for saying it, but she is the shittiest person that I know that she would do that. So to this girl that got with your boyfriend after you broke up with him, she's a shitty person, and I want you to know that everyone that knows you guys knows that she's a shitty person. The amount of people that I've had to reach out to me to tell me like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I saw like this happening, and like the amount of people that see it happening and see what this girl is doing, and him. It's not even just fully on the girl. Everyone sees it. Their friends see it, although their friends will never say anything to them. They know it too. Trust me when I say that. This girl, everyone sees differently now because she did that to you. And this girl plays the nice girl act. She's always played the nice girl. I would have never thought that she would have ever done that. And even all of like her college friends had reached out to me and been like, I'm so glad that you're finally like speaking out about this. I'm so glad that like you said something, because she truly just isn't a good person. And it's crazy to me because I would have never thought that she wasn't a good person. And yeah, she's not. And apparently my ex isn't who I thought he was either, which is really, really sad. And that one actually breaks my heart a little bit, because I never thought in a million years that he would do that to me. It's really hurtful to have to go through that and to have to like imagine that. In my case, like, she's living in my house that I lived in with my ex-boyfriend, with my dog, my decorations still hanging up in that house and in the living rooms, and how she can fucking sit there and look around knowing that I decorated that entire place and my stuff is still there is beyond me, and it's disgusting. So she's disgusting. This girl that got with your boyfriend's disgusting. Any girl that does that is disgusting, and they all need help. So you're better off without them, and they can go live their sad, disgusting lives together. I don't know how many times I can say disgusting, but I'm going to say it again. Disgusting. Next. That's also like, they don't deserve your breath. Go do your own thing and go figure it out and be better than them, because that's all you're going to do. You can't go lower than that. So starting at a new salon and fitting in. This one is like, it can be so hard, so awkward coming into like new jobs or new friendships and new friend groups, and like coming into it, because they all have their own inside jokes. They all have their own things that they've been doing, and then you kind of join it, and you kind of feel like, you know, you kind of just feel like you're not meant to be there, especially like if you're not a super outgoing. Like for me personally, like I'm a very outgoing person, but it used to take me a minute to warm up to people. I would have to warm up to people before I could fully like be myself. And sometimes it would take a lot longer than others. And when I first started joining friend groups, when I first moved to Florida, it was the same thing. I felt uncomfortable because I was like, I don't know any of these people. They all have their own jokes. Like they've known each other for years, and I'm just jumping into this friend group. Like I know these people and I don't. The longer you get to know people, and the more you start going to the salon to work, or the more you start going to his job or to hang out with these friends, you're only going to get to know someone better, and you're only going to make your own jokes and your own friendships and your own relationships. People leave, people come, like that's just how life is, and it's fun. It's really, when you start thinking you have it as like a fun thing and like a fun little like change in your life, you know, coming into something different, I think that it's a really good thing to look at it that way. And if you don't like it, move and find somewhere else where you do feel like you fit in. You know, that's the best thing about life, is like there's so many people out there where like you fit in somewhere, you just got to find it. What would you do if you worked around stylists who didn't want to grow themselves? Honestly, like the people who don't want to grow themselves, like let them do whatever they want to do, man. I mean, there are some people who are just comfortable with whatever the fuck they've been doing, and they don't want any like further in their career or whatever. And like, that's on them. Though it can be like a little bit less motivating being around people that maybe aren't so, you know, they don't want to learn anymore. They don't want to like grow. I think, especially in the hair industry, I think the most important thing is focusing on yourself and your own journey, because when you start focusing on what everyone else is doing, what other people on social media are doing, you're like, that's when it starts to get a little bit toxic, and that's when you start to compare yourself. Don't let it affect you. If they don't want to do anything better, I mean, do you, but don't let that stop you from growing yourself, you know? You can go do these things yourself. Go to the classes yourself. Go do these things that you want to do yourself. And if they have something to say about it, let them talk. I know, because it's like one day you're going to be at this like higher level, and they're going to be jealous. They're not going to be happy for you. Actually, they're probably going to be jealous and like talk shit. But again, that sounds like a them problem. If you truly are happy with yourself and happy with your growth and like what you're doing, it really won't bother you. And like, it used to bother me when people would, you know, hate on me, or like I knew people were laughing at me when I was filming in the salon and I was the only one filming in there by myself. And I look at where I am now and I'm like, I could not care less about what anyone that has something negative to say about anything that I've done in my life, because it's full jealousy. Because you know when you're a better point in your life than you were before, and when you feel like you've grown, it's such a huge accomplishment. And when you finally get to that point and you're like, wow, like I really feel like I'm doing so good and like growing myself, you don't even focus on those people anymore. So if they want to stay where they're at and like, you know, stay down here, then they can stay there. There's nothing you can do about it. Please do a topic for anxiety and social anxiety. I have struggled with anxiety my entire life, and I've tried to be open about this in the past, and it used to be harder for me to talk about, and I think I'm getting a little bit better about talking about it now. I had a really hard time growing up. I don't have like the greatest family like relationship, so that always like took a toll on me. I struggled just so much with anxiety and like depression and like these panic attacks I used to have and everything. I talked about in the first episode I did. Social anxiety was something that I also had struggled with in the past, and sometimes I still do. And you might think that that's crazy, but I still do struggle with social anxiety, and it comes and goes. That's the worst part about anxiety, is it comes in waves, and like sometimes you don't even. This happened like a month or two ago. I was on my way to work and I had a panic attack just out of nowhere. I haven't had a panic attack in like a couple of years, which was so out of the blue for me. And I had to cancel my clients at work. It was a rough morning. I didn't know what was going on. It hasn't happened in so long, but that's the thing with anxiety, is it comes and goes and you just got to kind of like take it. I've never been to therapy. Should I go? Yes. But there's something wrong with me. For some reason, I've talked to a psychiatrist before. And the minute that this psychiatrist asking me these questions about like why I was feeling this way, like what is, and I got so overwhelmed and I was like, I don't feel comfortable talking about some of these things. I like to keep things in. I like to keep personal things in. I like to keep, the struggles that I have. Sometimes I like to keep them in. Anything that I've gone through that's been a little bit more traumatic for me, I like to keep it in. I don't know why, but I can't talk about it. And when I do try to talk about it, I don't know how to speak. So like when this psychiatrist was asking me questions, I just didn't know how to answer. But for some people, therapy is literally life-changing for them. And I've talked to so many people and they're like, no, like you have to give it another chance. Like you have to go. And I think eventually I will. But yeah, for now, I just feel like it's, what I've been doing and like the way that I've learned how to cope with my anxiety. I've learned how to cope with it myself. It took me literally my whole life to figure out how to cope with it myself. And I couldn't even explain to you how I cope with it, to be honest with you, because I do it in such an unhealthy way that probably shouldn't be done. I really recommend maybe trying therapy because it really helps with like anxiety. Therapy isn't just for like depression. It's for like anything mental health wise, and anxiety is such a big part of people's everyday lives. Another thing that helps me with my anxiety though is remembering when I have these panic attacks, or remembering when I'm having this like anxiety. When that wave of anxiety is coming over you, that feeling that you get. Reminding myself like this isn't real. It's real, but like this is just my anxiety, and the longer that you kind of like have anxiety and stuff, you get to really recognize like these symptoms that come with it. If you can talk yourself down from it, that's one of the things that really helps me. And that's something that I've learned how to do with myself now. And also like cutting out people in your life, even if that means family. Sometimes my anxiety, a lot of it stemmed from the people that were in my family. Let's just put it this way. I have more anxiety when I am in communication with few people in my life, and I realized that when I cut them out, I was living life just so much more like I felt like I could breathe. Even if it's so hard having to cut someone that you love out of your life, if it's toxic for you, sometimes that is unfortunately family. Yeah, that is one of the main things that helped my anxiety though, was kind of just taking a step back and focusing on myself before putting other people before me, not letting anyone talk to me in a way that is unhealthy. In relationships, anything. So, as far as social anxiety, something that helps me with social anxiety is that one's harder, I feel like, than my normal anxiety to kind of like cope with, especially because I am such an outgoing person. So when I get this wave of social anxiety when I'm with friends or when I'm out, it mainly happens sometimes like when I'm with like a group of like even my close friends. Like I get like social anxiety. Like growing up in like friend groups, I always felt like I was always like the left out one. That still kind of comes into like my today's day. And I feel like I almost kind of like play the victim a little bit. And I almost am like, oh my God, like these people don't want me here, but that's not the case. But in my brain is telling me that when I'm there, and it makes me quiet around people. Something that's helped me kind of get over that though is really just truly remembering that no one fucking cares. We live on a floating rock. Really, everything that you're doing today, no one's gonna remember. You know, the things that you're wearing, no one's gonna remember. The things that you're doing, no one's gonna remember. The things that you say, most likely, like, no one's gonna remember these things that you're doing right now. So if you be yourself, you're gonna be a lot happier. And if you could just try to see past like the whole social anxiety thing when you're out with your friends or something, and like no one cares, you know, it's a good laugh. If anything, if you're being cringy or you're being like whatever, like it's funny. The only thing that's gonna matter is like the way that you treat people. That's the only thing people are gonna remember you for. It's the way that you treated people, you know, your personality, whatever. I don't even know if I just got off the track on that, which I typically tend to get off the track a lot. My friend is deliberately mean to me when she's drunk, cuts me down, etc. Ooh, I knew someone that was kind of like that. Like maybe say like bring it up to her and be like, yo, like maybe you should like just not drink, because maybe some people just can't handle it and it just does make them a mean person. Bringing it up, which I know probably isn't going to help anything, and it's probably just going to piss her off more if you even try to say that. I do feel like maybe this one is a lose-lose situation, which you could try to bring it up in an easy way and be like, hey, like, you're kind of a bitch to me. And if they don't care, then like it's maybe just time to just kind of like take a step back from that person. I think people truly are in your life to come and go. And there's no time to waste on someone that's going to make you literally be deliberately mean to you when they're drunk. Like that's crazy, especially a friend. I don't think that that's a friend. So even if she's drunk, like that's not a friend. And if you bring these concerns up to her and she isn't concerned about it, if she's concerned about it and she's like, oh my God, like I'm so sorry, like I don't mean to do that, I don't mean to do these things, then maybe just like when she is drunk, and maybe the next time she starts to get like that, bring it up and be like, or like just leave the situation and just don't even give her the time of day. Don't let her tear you down, you know, because that's maybe like what she wants, is some validation when she's drunk. People who are like that just kind of like try to take out what they're going through on other people and kind of like project it. So if you're just like, don't even put yourself in that position, like they're gonna realize like, damn, like I fucked up. Most of the time when people are drunk, they remember how they treated you. You don't forget everything when you're drunk, especially every single time. So if it's every single time, then there's an issue deep rooted within her that maybe she needs to work on. And if she can't work on that, care more about you than like the way that she's treating you, then like you just need to take a step back from the relationship. And having so many friends but feeling like you have none. I didn't have the greatest friend group. Clearly, you know, one of them's dating my ex now. I didn't have the greatest friend group when I lived back at home. And I felt like, you know, I had friends, but I really had none. And that was because they were all closer than I ever was with them. The thing is that you don't not have friends. And you have to remember that, because sometimes that's again, like kind of like, you know, you're just being like, oh, well, like you're overthinking it really at the end of the day, because you have friends and you just have to remind yourself, like count right now and be like, I have this friend, this person I talk to, this person I talk to. Even when I lived at home and I literally had like 2 people that I even like talked to. The thing too is like maybe find new friends. Maybe try and like reach out or like make new friends. To kind of like deal with that though, I've become my own friend, and I think that really helps with everything that I've gone through. Like my best friend is myself, and it's really truly a nice thing, because it's like I feel like I don't need anyone else but myself. Even if you have so many friends and like feel like you have none, at the end of the day, like you have yourself. So you have a friend and I'm your friend. Do you have good friends? Maybe not. You just have to find better. Yeah, it's out there somewhere. You just gotta switch something up. You know, when you're feeling like that, you just gotta like maybe find a new friend. My friend's boyfriend is very toxic. He says mean things and she can't see it. What do? I feel like anything that you do, she's not gonna listen to you, and it's just gonna make things like, if you bring it up, she doesn't care. She's in her own fucking world. She's blind to what this guy is saying and what this guy is doing to her. Anything that you say, and even though you're trying to be a good friend and bring it up and be like, hey, like this guy treats you like shit, like I really don't think he's the one for you, she doesn't care. And the way that I know that is because I've been in that position. I've had friends be in that position. It sucks having to watch a friend go through that and be like you're literally just watching this person get like torn down by someone else, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to sit and watch it happen. The part that sucks is like sometimes they figure it out and then they continue to go back to him, which is like literally so annoying. But again, it's not your relationship, and there's really like nothing you can do about it. But like you can still continue to bring up these concerns. And like, God, I'm like sweating right now. But these conversations are getting too deep. I'm sweating. And sometimes people are just like that. Like for me, for example, I'm the type of person that like someone can tell me not to do something, but I'm still going to do it anyway because I need to learn for myself. And then the thing is though, is like when she finally ends it, she's going to be embarrassed. Like most of like the relationships that I've been in that have been toxic, I've looked back on and I'm literally embarrassed that I've even dated this person. At least you could be like, I told you so. How to get over an ex. So when I ended things with my ex of 6 years, getting over that was like, it was hard and it took a while, but it was a little bit easier because like I said, if I felt like things had ended before they actually did. I think the easiest way to get over an ex or to get over someone is by doing things for yourself and kind of doing things that like doing things to keep your mind off of it is the only thing that's gonna, so like I start working a little bit more, you know, because I really love my job and stuff. If you don't love your job, then maybe like find like a hobby or do something. And doing things by yourself, hanging out with friends more, going out on the weekends, forcing yourself to go out because I know that you don't want to go out. Remember, like, when I broke up with my ex, it was really hard for me to go out on the weekends because I would go out and all I would do is I would, like, think about him. And it was hard. But if you can kind of, like, get past that because it only gets easier. But you cannot just waste your days in bed being sad. You can, but it's not healthy that way. So I think the best way to get over an ex is kind of just trying your best to be around other people. I remember when my ex and I, the one that I was just recently with, literally a day or whatever after we broke up, like I made sure I like went and I hung out with friends, and it helps so much because those people are going to tell you, one, that they probably saw what you saw in your ex, that you finally like ended it or like whatever happened. Even if you got broken up with, they're just going to make you feel better about it. You can cry it out. Sometimes you have to cry it out, which sucks, but like sometimes you just got to. And the saddest part is you're gonna continue to think about this person until you find someone else, which is the hardest part. But don't text them. Don't text them. For the love of God, put the phone down. Don't write the paragraph. Don't send a paragraph. Maybe write it down in like a journal that you have at home or something, but don't ever send that to someone. I feel like the best thing that you can do is take it as a learning lesson. Take it as some people are not meant to be in your life forever. You're meant to go through these lessons and learn from them and grow from them. Think back onto the relationship and think back to like all the times, because I feel like when you go through the breakup, you're only thinking about all the good times that you had with the person. And then you're really sad because you miss those good times. But think about all the bad times. What about all the times you fought? What about all the times like, you know, you question something? Think about all those times. And I feel like I promise you, when you start thinking about that, it'll outweigh the stuff that was good. And even taking into consideration, when I was in a relationship this past year, my first boyfriend since my, you know, long-term relationship. And I learned so much about myself. And I learned what I don't want in a relationship from that. And I learned like the way that this guy, you know, this guy that I was with was like a little bit controlling, but like I couldn't see it. I was blind at the time. And I also, though, but like I wasn't perfect in the relationship. Like I can get a little bit clingy in relationship. Things from both ends that like needed to be worked on, but we clearly just couldn't do it together. Like we didn't want to work on these things together. And, you know, whether it's you doing the breaking up or like someone else's, you know, or like he's breaking up with you, just want you to know that there's a billion people out there in the world, that there's someone else out there. I promise you. And so don't be hung up on one person that, you know, wasn't your person. Clearly, if they were your person, it wouldn't have ended. So keep living life day by day. It goes by quick. The days go by quick. The years go by quick. By the time you know it, you'll be over it. And then you'll look back and you'll be like, damn, like I really fucking dated that person. And that's just kind of like how life goes. You're over it and then you're like, well, fuck. And then the cycle repeats itself however many more times until you find your person. If that even exists nowadays. I'm itching myself with the microphone. It's been like a long episode already, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. I know I could talk about fucking relationships and I could talk about advice stuff for so long. So if you guys liked this episode and want me to do like another episode like this, I totally will. The biggest advice that I want to give you before we go, if you feel like in your life right now you're too comfortable or something is just boring or like you're just living your day by day and everything is the same and like nothing, change something. It's time to turn the page. It's time to turn a chapter. If you think that you should break up with your boyfriend, turn the page, fucking break up with him and figure it out and move on. Your life is never going to move on and move forward if you don't allow it to. If you don't fucking take the page and turn it. No one is going to do it for you. Okay? You have to be the one that fucking does it. And if not, the page is just going to fly all fucking everywhere. And then like you're going to be in a spiral. So take control of your own life. You know if you want to break up with someone. You know if you want to move to a different state. You know if you're asking these questions, especially if you're asking, like I've had people DM me and ask me like these specific questions about life. And I'm like, girl, you reaching out to me and asking this question lets me know that you are ready. You know, should I move on to like this new salon? Should I do this? Yeah, you should, because you're bringing it up and you're questioning it. And I think that it's time. And if you don't like it, you can always go back, but I promise you, 9 times out of 10, you're never going to regret turning the chapter. Or you might miss things from the past, from old relationships, or you might miss these memories. Memories are great, but they're made to just stay as memories. I have so many memories, and I still think about people that I love in the past. But would I ever go back? No, because it's made me where I am today. And you don't ever turn back in time. Okay, keep moving forward, because you're never going to find anything just staying where you're at or like dwelling on the past. You got to move forward in life. It's the only way. So I don't know. That was my last little point that I had to throw out there for any advice. If I'm going to give any advice, that is my advice for you today. I love you guys. And yeah, I'm going to head out. I don't know where Juicy Boy went. He was hanging out with me for like the first 5 minutes, but I need chicken noodle soup now. Bye.